All right, so I wrote this letter yesterday, and it starts off with, Did God want me to have children? I'm grateful for the idea of it. I used to always think about having kids. Inspired by my own imagination and actions, I felt capable. As I got older and saw how complicated life really was like, I started to question how ready I was and how ready I needed to be. The day got further and the financial pressure became bigger. As my heart expanded and took more space in this world, with people and memories, I began to fear death. It became an endless abyss I stare into frequently. How could I look into the eyes of my child and say, Hey, bud, I love you so much, but I don't know how to take you where I'm going. I don't even know where I'm going, and if I felt like I did, I could never prove it to you. I'd ask you to have faith. I couldn't even walk you there myself. I'm the reason why you live and the reason why you die. How could I bring you here without knowing where we are headed? The only help I have is, well, I chose to grow here. If I create the opportunity for you to grow here and you take it, you made your choice and I made mine. I was literally just sitting in the hallway of my apartment, and I was watching my niece. She was like on a timeout. She had just like gotten in trouble. Um, and I was just watching her, and I was thinking about how beautiful it was to watch this thing grow inside of this human body. When I say thing, I say consciousness. To watch this human being, this consciousness expand and grow, it was very inspiring. And it's been very beautiful watching her develop and watching her say things and learn. And so as I'm watching her, I'm like thinking about this idea of having children. Something I used to think about a lot. As a kid, I always thought about how what kind of parent I wanted to be. Obviously from like a innocent perspective, it's all easier to think about. And so I always wanted children. But as I got older, like I said in the letter, things just became more complicated as I saw what life really was like. And I asked myself if I wanted to bring a child into this world, if I was ready. And it's something that I've been thinking about since then. Ever since my parents split up, I've been thinking about stuff like that. And now watching my niece and just developing as a person and just seeing how life is like, I've been forcing myself to think about it more optimistically because I feel like there has been this like unavoidable wave of depression that comes on all the time because of how depressed I am about my reality. Constantly feeling pulled down by my perspective of the future. Life's great when you have something to look forward to. When you have a vacation, some kind of cool event that you're excited about in the future, life becomes a lot easier to think about. And you have something to look forward to. But I feel like when you're constantly looking to the future and you don't see anything positive and you only really see death, then things can get really depressive. Now, mind you, there's very optimistic ways to look at death. I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm just, these are the human feelings that I have. But as I was sitting there and watching her, I was thinking about how capable I would be and how I was passed down this torch. I took this opportunity, and whoever shows up at the plate to take the next torch is also choosing. And that gave me a lot of great feelings. And I became very inspired. I started thinking about what I wanted and how, if I'm really going to be here for another 75 years, and I think that's realistic. I think where medicine has grown in the last 4 years, what is it going to do? What is our awareness of holistic health going to look like in another 5 years? I think 75 years is very realistic, if not more. And I'm excited about that. And so as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, well, am I going to continue to be depressed about my reality, or am I going to commit? And I feel like in order to commit, I got to ask myself, okay, well, what am I building? Am I going to set myself up to have a family? Do I want to have a family? Do I want to have children? I'm going to be 30 eventually. I'm about to turn 25. Like, what do I want? What am I setting myself up for? I think it was like, it's been this whole like becoming a man, even though I feel like becoming a man is something that happens even when you're a certain age, because being a man, being a leader, being a strong woman, it's a refinement process that you commit to daily. But growing up definitely has had me think about committing to this reality. And as I'm committing to this reality, I just started focusing on thinking more positively. And I was thinking about having children a lot. But I'm asking myself, how do I set myself up for what I want? I started thinking about what I want to accomplish by February, which is exactly 100 days away. I started thinking about what kind of money I need to make to get out of all the situations that I'm in. And I feel like that's like the natural flow of a person's mindset, is what am I growing into? I don't think that they know how to articulate it, but it's a fact that we're all growing. We're all changing constantly. What are we growing into? What are we transforming into? What is all this change gonna equate to? What reality are we inheriting? It reminds me of the saying of, you know, your mess is your message. Everything is earned. Your reality, you earned it. So what am I earning next? And it's this weird, exciting, scary feeling to think that I would one day have children. But I've been saying this for a while. I had a mentor once tell me to write down 100 things I wanted to do before I died. And one of the things was I want to feel comfortable enough with the idea of having children. And I think about a year later, I think I'm finally getting there. And it's interesting. And I can already feel this natural rise in my energy, whereas before it was just natural pull down. I think the world can be a very scary place, a very confusing place. But I have to ask myself, how do I want to live? And I want to live courageously. And I think if I were to have children and I looked them in the eyes and I had a conversation with them, I think number one, I would be extremely curious to meet their spirits. But number two, I think they'd be extremely qualified. I think from where I've been and what I've seen and what I've felt and experienced to where I am now, to then having children and then parenting them and then guiding them through that process, that's exciting to me. I think about the idea of passing on this torch and being gifted the opportunity to lead humanity, even just as a parent, even if like I only made six figures to $500,000 a year for the rest of my life. I think that being a phenomenal parent is the best way to lead, because essentially I'm passing them on to the next generation. And as I pass on, maybe they'll pass that leadership on. And so I think about stuff like that. And again, it makes me very optimistic. I'm already here and I chose to be here. So I imagine that they would also. And I think this is important to speak about, because in a world where we can be so confused and think so much like individuals, we have to remind ourselves, what's the bigger picture? Why are we all here? And we don't have complete freedoms. We don't have a license to murder or rob, but we do have the freedom to cooperate in a civilization. So what's the point? What's the big idea? Why are we all here? Where are we headed? We're going to be headed somewhere, and we all have a part to play. So what are we doing? And I believe that things are starting to clear up for me, and it excites me. It scares me, but it's something I look forward to. I'm going to keep taking it one day at a time, and I hope you do as well. And, yeah, have an awesome day.